Good morning, everyone. We're going to give folks just a few more moments to join us, and we will get started officially at exactly 11 o'clock Mountain. So bear with us just a couple more minutes. Thank you so much. All right, according to my computer screen and my phone, it's 11 o'clock, so I will go ahead and get us started. So good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for your time today, and thank you for joining this webinar. My name is Tracy Marshall. I serve as the Division Director for the Paid Family and Medical Leave in Colorado, affectionately known as FAMLI. I'm joined today by Adam Siramarco, who is one of our senior policy advisors, and also several other members of our family policy and communication team. They'll be on hand to answer your questions live and also via the Q&A function for those of you on Zoom. Before we get started here, let me just remind you of some of our basic housekeeping items for today. So this presentation will be available on family.colorado.gov shortly following this webinar. We'll also share it with everyone who registered. So if you're one of the people streaming live with us right now on YouTube, you will also get a copy of this through your email if you registered with us for the Zoom. For those of you on Zoom, please do ask your questions in the Q&A function on your Zoom dashboard. The chat function is going to be disabled, but our team of panelists will be sharing some helpful links through that as we move through the session. Those of you watching on YouTube, you can ask your questions in the comments section. We do have a large audience today, so we certainly won't be able to get to every question, but we'll do our best to answer as many as we can. Quick look at our agenda for our time together. So we'll do an overview of the FAMLI program and how people qualify for paid leave. We'll give you some more details on how FAMLI works with other benefits. We'll talk through how you would go about filing a claim and what to expect while you're on your FAMLI leave. And then we'll talk a little bit about your rights when you're ready to go back to work after your leave is complete. And then we're hoping that we'll allow plenty of time at the end for your questions. So first of all, a celebration that family benefits are available to workers in Colorado. Approved claimants were able to start taking their time away from work at the start of the year. And so far, everything has gone really, really well. We're seeing a lot of people receiving their benefits. They're receiving them timely, and people are using our system just the way we hoped that they would. So thousands of workers in Colorado have already taken a family leave and successfully returned back to work. This is just a reminder of how workers become eligible to take that family leave. FAMLI provides 12 weeks of paid leave for Colorado workers to take care of themselves or take care of their loved ones. Covered workers are able to apply for paid family leave benefits during certain life events. They may be things like managing a serious health condition, taking care of a child that's joined their family, whether that's through childbirth, adoption, or foster placement, making arrangements ahead of a military deployment, and also to deal with the immediate needs and impacts that arise from intimate partner violence or sexual assault. For those people that experience a significant pregnancy or childbirth complication, they may be eligible for an additional 4 weeks of leave if that is certified by a healthcare provider. That would give them a total of 16 weeks. Just a reminder, family benefits are paid directly from the state, so from the family division. They are not paid by the employer. So family leave does not have to be taken all at once. An employee can choose to split up the leave depending on their health condition or the needs that they have at the time. The maximum amount of time for family leave is 12 weeks within a 12-month period, or up to that 16 weeks in the case of the childbirth or pregnancy complications. These limits apply no matter how many employers somebody is working for. Eligible workers can choose to take that time off as either a single block of time or an intermittent block of time, or they could be working a reduced schedule. Everybody's situation is going to be unique, and we do account for that in the program. So continuous leave would be if the leave is taken all in one go without any kind of interruption. Intermittent leave is taken in separate blocks of time that occur at irregular intervals. So they're not continuous, they're not predictable, but you do know that they're likely to happen within a 6-month period. So this may be somebody that needs to take time away for something like a migraine. That might be a really good use of intermittent leave. A reduced schedule leave is for those employees that are not able to fulfill their complete work schedule. So maybe they need to work reduced hours. Maybe they can only work 4 hours a day. That would be a reason to use a reduced work schedule leave. So using parental bonding leave as an example for what you're seeing here, let's say that you welcome a new baby and you'd like to take 4 weeks to bond with that baby right after the birth, and then you decide to return to work for several weeks, and then you want to go back out on leave to bond with the baby for that remaining 8 weeks of time before the child's birthday. This scenario would be taken as 2 separate continuous leave claims. When you go to open your second block of continuous leave to bond with your child after returning to work for that first period of time, you'll be able to link it to the first claim, which will result in a faster processing time for you. Eligible Colorado workers can choose how and when to use their time, and we do have lots more information about this available for you to see on our website under the Individuals and Families page. A lot of workers are trying to figure out how family works with other benefits they might have available to them. This would include things like FMLA, paid time off, or PTO. So we're going to go over that just a little bit. So basically, employees cannot double dip. So you can't get family benefits and unemployment benefits or workers' compensation at the same time. Workers and employers can agree to use other employer-provided leave like PTO or your vacation time to top up your payments if there's a signed agreement. Employers can require employees to use family leave as a condition to receive other benefits, and the employer is not legally required to provide additional leaves that would also cover family circumstances. So think of things like short-term disability. It may be that your employer has a short-term disability program that lasts for 26 weeks. Your employer certainly can expect you to utilize your family leave for the first 12-week period of that. FMLA is something we certainly receive a lot of questions about. So FMLA is a federal program. FAMLI is Colorado's state program. So the Family and Medical Leave Act is a federal law that covers larger employers. It gives workers of companies with 50 or more employees the ability to take up to 12 weeks of unpaid leave for certain life events. A worker's eligibility is determined by the employer. There's three major differences between FMLA and Colorado's FAMLI program. So the main one is that FAMLI is paid. FMLA is an unpaid job-protected leave. Employees working for a business of any size are eligible for FAMLI. And self-employed workers are also eligible to opt into using the FAMLI program, whereas FMLA, that's only available to those employees of larger employers. Another question we're getting about benefit coordination is whether or not employers are responsible for health insurance coverage for their employees when they're on leave. The short answer to this is yes, they are. Both the FMLA and FAMLI require employers to keep on providing health insurance while an employee is on leave. During the leave, employees need to keep paying their part in the insurance cost. There are different ways that employees can make these payments, including paying directly to the employer through a payment plan. All of those details you can find on the rules page, which we're going to be sending the link to in our chat. If an employee and the employer agree on a payment plan, but the employee doesn't make those payments while they're on family leave, in that situation, the employer can stop the healthcare coverage. This follows the same rules as FMLA, including giving notice and following very specific timing. The employer must, however, bring back that healthcare coverage when the employee returns to work. FAMLI also stops employers from interfering with employees' rights. So the employer cannot cancel coverage if it means they cannot fully restore the employee's benefits when they come back. Again, that would go against the employee's right to restoration under the FAMLI program. When it comes to the differences in leaves, we know that some leaves are foreseeable and some are not. A foreseeable leave is going to be something like the birth of a child, or maybe a scheduled surgery that you're planning to have for perhaps a knee replacement, something where you know in advance that you're going to be needing that claim. So you can file those foreseeable leaves up to 30 days in advance from your first expected absence from work. Employees are required to consult with their employers and make a reasonable effort to schedule that leave in a way that doesn't unduly disrupt the business. While we do know that this is not going to settle all conflicts, it's certainly a good question to broach with your employer to see what is considered as reasonable and what would be unduly disruptive. But this is certainly an effort to reduce conflicts between employers and employees and set some expectations in the hope of helping everyone manage this new benefit. For the unforeseeable leave, when an employee or their family member has an accident or a health event that they didn't see coming, obviously you're not going to be able to start that family claim in advance. So you have 30 days after the time or the incident has happened to file a claim for your absence. If you're incapacitated and you're not able to do that, one of your family members can serve as a designated representative and they don't need any prior authorization to do that. There's also an appeals process just in case you can't get that application in within 30 days, but you have a good and valid reason for the delay. Again, that information is available to you on our website. Before we move on to the Family Benefits portal, here's a little more about filing for family benefits if you're doing that as a designated representative for somebody else. So, as we mentioned, you can file for family benefits when you're caring for yourself or for a loved one, but sometimes that loved one also needs you to file a claim for them. This would be in the unfortunate case of someone being incapacitated and unable to complete the paperwork on their own. The person was working and would be eligible to get that pay replacement themselves, but at the moment they're too unwell or incapacitated to be able to file that claim. So what you would do in that scenario is make sure that you qualify to be a designated representative. You must be legally authorized to make decisions on behalf of a claimant with regard to the family program. That legal authorization may be through a written designation from the claimant or through legal status as a parent, guardian, conservator, or power of attorney. Next, you'll start a claim in your own name, not in the name of the incapacitated loved one. To do that, you'll need an account on login.gov, and we'll take you through that in a moment. Once you've got your account set up and you start your claim, the program will ask if you want to file as a designated representative. And the screen that you're seeing in front of you is what that would look like. You're going to find all of the step-by-step directions for this in our user guide, which is titled Getting Started on our page. We're also going to put that link in the chat for you. And at this point, I'm going to hand you over to Adam, who will talk further about the application process.
That's great. Thanks, Tracy. So I will just go over a little bit about the application process itself and some other things at the end, leaving plenty of time for questions. So this is a screenshot of what you'll see in the My Family Plus application system. We'll go over a couple of other screenshots. So you start by going into our webpage, family.colorado.gov, and clicking the purple button labeled Apply for Benefits. That'll take you to the My Family Plus portal, and this is where folks can apply for family. So the first step in applying for family, if you haven't already done so for some other purpose, is to create an account through login.gov. So I would like to go over just a little bit about what that looks like. So when you first go in, the way to access the system on the next slide is through this login.gov account, which is a secure federal website used for all kinds of government programs, such as Social Security. So you may already have an account. If you're creating an account for the first time, make sure you use your personal email address and set your browser to allow third-party cookies. You'll be asked to pick your preferred authentication method, either a phone number or an app where the login.gov account can send you a security code. This step is called a multi-factor authentication, and it ensures that nobody accesses your account except for you without your knowledge. So once you get your security code, you log in through login.gov, and that'll take you to the My Family Plus Benefits portal. So this is a screenshot of the My Family Benefits Plus portal, where workers get an overview of the types of leave that they might be filing for. That's what you see on the left. The text is a little bit small, but these are some reasons for leave that the claimant will click. And once the claimant clicks the particular reason for leave, be it a serious health condition, caring for another, military exigency, whatever it is, the portal will then let them know what paperwork they need for that reason for leave. And that's what you see on the right. So you'll look and you'll see, okay, this is all the paperwork I need, and start working on getting that paperwork available so that you can submit it with your claim. Once you've got all the paperwork submitted with your claim, there's one more step if you submit a claim in advance, and that is that before benefit payments ever go out, you need to let the family division know that your leave has officially begun. This way, we don't accidentally pay someone who applied for and was approved for leave, but then never actually took their leave. So this will show up as a task on your claims dashboard in My Family Plus so that you don't forget it. Even if you've successfully submitted all the required documents, you still need to complete this step before payments will be issued. So that's the final step to ensure payment goes out. So next, I'd like to talk a bit about what you can expect while you're on family leave. Once you've gotten your claim approved, you'll want to know what your pay replacement will look like. If you select direct deposit as your payment option, family payments are going to be sent to your banking institution and should arrive very quickly, within 24 hours, maybe up to 72 hours, depending on the bank after the family division submits that payment to the bank. There's another option, which is a prepaid debit card. And if you've selected that option for benefits, you should receive that card very shortly after your claim is approved. And then payments will be just direct deposited onto that card. So here's a breakdown of when you'll receive those benefit payments. If you've opted for a continuous block of leave, the first payment will be issued to you, won't be issued to you, excuse me, until you've missed at least 1 week of work. Your payment date will depend on the day of the week that you started your leave. So the payment date is a couple of days after the end of your first week of leave. If you've opted for intermittent or reduced schedule leave, what you'll need to do is submit weekly certifications each Sunday. And the purpose of those weekly certifications is to tell us how many hours you took off. So you'll complete that task by Sunday, Sunday evening, and then you may see your benefits appear in your account or on your debit card by the following Tuesday, but it may take up to an additional 48 hours after completing that task to see benefit payments on an intermittent or a reduced work schedule claim. Next, I'd like to talk a little bit about the overall life cycle of a claim. So here is an overview of what steps a claim goes through from start to finish. So for foreseeable leaves, ideally the first thing that happens is the worker tells the employer that they need to take leave. After that, the worker will begin their claim on My Family Plus. As Tracy said, you can do this up to 30 days in advance of your claim, of your leave start date. And then after you've applied for family will then tell the employer as well that you have submitted your claim. Once we've informed them that you've submitted your claim, there may still be tasks that you have to do, such as providing a healthcare certification or other documentation that the family division asks for to prove that you need the kind of leave that you've applied for. So you submit all of that paperwork to the family division, and then in the Happy Path world, family will approve your claim if you are eligible. If you're not eligible, family will issue a decision that says you're not eligible, and you can obviously appeal that decision as well. If you are approved, your claim then goes to the next step, which is that we tell you and your employer that you've been approved. And then you, like I said, tell the family division when your leave starts. And after that, family will begin to pay you, the claimant, throughout your leave. If you've originally stated that you want leave for 8 weeks, but then you decide to go back to work early, you'll need to tell the family division that you intend to end your leave early. So anytime something about your leave changes in the middle of your claim, and a number of things can change, you're required to inform the division of any change that happens that would impact your claim in the middle of your claim. So if that happens, you tell us, and then the family division will tell the employer of any changes made to your claim based on anything that you've told the family division. So it's kind of a look at the family claim from start to finish. Now, I didn't go through every step of the application process here, but we do have a step-by-step user guide and a bunch of really good how-to videos available on family.colorado.gov. So if you go to the support page, you can find these videos. We also have all of this in both English and in Spanish, so fully accessible to anyone who speaks one of those two languages. I would really highly recommend these videos if you're having any trouble going through the system. They're a great first step. Next, I'd like to talk a little bit about what happens after your family claim. So Colorado law provides a concept called job reinstatement. So if you've been at your job for 180 days or more, that's about 6 months, most Colorado employers are going to be required to reinstate that employee to either the position that they held when they started their leave or an equivalent position once their leave ends. And just for employers' sake, these folks still need to be counted as employees for family purposes while they're on leave. So as long as the employer expects them to come back, they still need to count as employees when you're reporting total headcount of employees to family. But that doesn't mean that anybody who takes family leave just can't be fired at all. So employers are not under any obligation to overlook significant performance issues just because you went on leave. As long as they are, not a performance issue related to the leave, that gets a little sticky. But if a company, knows that you have a significant performance issue, they may still be able to fire you if that's a legitimate reason that they're firing you, and they're not firing you because you went on family leave. The employer is also not stopped from reorganizing or eliminating positions altogether, like if you have seasonal employment. An employer doesn't magically need to recreate a seasonal ski job in June just because you went on family leave and came back in June. So the company doesn't have to just recreate jobs for you just because you went on leave. So there's a couple of spots where you won't be eligible for reinstatement. But generally speaking, if you've been at your job for 180 days or more, you do qualify for this job reinstatement for most Colorado employers. So with that, one more question we get a lot here in Colorado, and I already sort of went over this, is about seasonal workers. So seasonal workers can absolutely qualify for family benefits as long as someone meets our definition of covered individual, which means they've earned $2,500 in wages in the past roughly 5 quarters. They qualify for family benefits. But those seasonal employers are not obligated to reinstate the seasonal worker after the season ends. So I already went over this example. If the seasonal job has already gone away, the employer does not need to recreate that job to bring the employee back after they end their leave. And with that, I'm going to hand it back over to Tracy to wrap us up.
Thank you so much, Adam. So we do have several resources available for you in our family toolkit that's available for you to download on our website, family.colorado.gov. The Employer's Guide to Family is the document that outlines everything employers need to know to implement and to remain compliant with Colorado's law. The Employee Handbook for Family is a great tool for employees to refer to and for employers to have on hand to add information to their existing employee handbooks. So your employees are then aware of their rights, their protections, and any future access that they may have for wage replacement benefits. We also have a family fact sheet that you're certainly welcome to print out, and also an application checklist, which you can have handy before you start your claim. These are all available for you to utilize in both English and Spanish. And again, you can find them on family.colorado.gov. We definitely do want to hear from you. You're certainly welcome to engage with us in a number of different ways. We're on all the different social media platforms, including Facebook, Twitter, or X, as it's called now, Instagram, and LinkedIn. You can also subscribe to our newsletters, again, on family.colorado.gov. We have a newsletter that's specific for claimants, another one for healthcare providers specifically, and then a third one that we send for those who are employers. So on that note, I'm going to hand you into the careful hands of our communications team who are going to be moderating questions today. I do see that we've already answered, gosh, over 75 questions that have come through so far in our chat, but there are many, many more, so we'll do our best to get to those that we can. Go ahead, Michelle.
Thanks, Tracy. And thank you to everybody for attending today. We have a really large crowd, not only here, but on YouTube as well. And so I want to just thank everybody for being here today. And I am going to start addressing some of the questions that we have in the Q&A section. So I have a easy question for you, Tracy. There was somebody who is asking, are employees who do not live in the state of Colorado but work remotely from another state provided services to Colorado residents eligible for FAMLI?
You sent that one to me. I mean, I think the short answer to that one is going to be no, but there's a much more in-depth answer to that, and I would defer you to Adam for the proper answer.
Sure. So I think, yeah, generally speaking, it's going to be no. When we are determining where you work, what question we're asking is, where are your boots on the ground? Or if you're flying over a state, you know, where are your boots straight over if you look straight down, right? And so, you know, this program is only available to folks whose employment is localized in Colorado, which means that just because you perform services for people who are in Colorado, if you perform them remotely from, say, New York, you're a New York employee, not Colorado.
Thanks, Adam. Thank you, Tracy, too. Josh, this question actually might be something you want to answer. When I set up my initial account, I accidentally started to set it up like I was a healthcare provider. How do I delete that part? I have not been able to see where I can. Josh, can you provide any help with that?
Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully you guys can hear me. Yeah, there's no functionality on your dashboard to do that, but if you call our contact center, we'll be able to go in and inactivate that HCP healthcare provider account for you. But as long as you've never been certified or verified, which I have a feeling you weren't, you will not have any problems and not receive any notices. So it's kind of a dummy account until you call us to have it disactivated.
Thank you for that question. And thanks, Josh, for that clarity. One of our employees requested second vacation time for the period that they are on FAMLI, but the claim has not been accepted. Should I pay it out? Thoughts, Adam or Tracy?
I'm happy to take this one, unless Tracy, you want it? Okay. So yeah, I think the family division generally isn't in a position to provide you with legal advice on what you should or shouldn't do. But what I can tell you is what may happen if you do, and then you can make your own decision. So any sick leave or PTO that is paid out to someone who is eventually approved for family leave might be considered an overpayment. So it's an overpayment if the combination of their family leave plus their sick or PTO time comes out to more than their average weekly wage. And if there's an overpayment that happens in that amount, the employer is permitted to recoup that payment from the employee through any legal means. So if you pay out 40 hours a week of sick time, but then it turns out that they received family, you could potentially take back some of that time. If you do that, you have to re-up their balance of paid sick time and paid leave time during that time. Hopefully that's enough to allow you to make a decision on what you should or should not do for yourself.
Thank you so much, Adam, for that clarification. Let's see. There's a lot of questions in here. Here we go. I am going to talk or answer a question by or ask a question by Mindy. What happens if the employee has requested that for the insurance payment to be taken out of their checks upon return, but the information was never provided, or the employee was fired while out on leave? Is that something we would want to refer them to one of our resources on the website, Adam?
Maybe. I mean, I'm a little confused. So when we talk, is there a way to get some clarification before we answer this? Or what insurance payment are we talking about?
Right.
I might
I'm
need some
assuming,
more.
yeah, that might be for benefits. Mindy, if you want to clarify your question, I'll look for it, and then we can maybe address it a little later in the session. Let's see. Here's a question about intermittent leave reporting time. It's by an anonymous Ask attendee. If the employee says that their hours they worked on a day is 10, but they only report 6 hours, will Colorado only pay 6 hours? Or do they pay the amount of hours the employee reported as on their schedule?
So we will require on an intermittent leave claim that you tell us on a weekly basis how many hours you actually took off. And so you're permitted to report that you only took 6 out of 10 hours off. So when you start your claim, you tell us what your regular work schedule is on a day-by-day basis. And then you also tell us weekly after that how much you took off. So we will pay based on how many hours are approved that you told us you actually took off, not based on whatever your schedule was necessarily.
Thank you for that clarification, Adam. Here is a question about FAMLI and FMLA. So Kelly says she understands that FAMLI and FMLA should run concurrently if possible. In order to do so, the employee does the employee have to apply for both FAMLI and FMLA? And if they don't, does it mean that they would be eligible for up to 24 weeks off? Tracy or Adam, which one would you like to take this one, Tracy, or would you like me to defer this to Adam?
So I can take this one. So you're correct that FMLA and FAMLI are designed to run together. So that's concurrently. They may be separate applications depending on what your employer requires for documentation. Colorado as a state, when we adjudicate on FAMLI, we are not adjudicating on FMLA. That's going to be something that's still done by your employer and may require additional paperwork. Adam, feel free to add any other clarification if you wish.
No, and I think that's good. I think that covers it.
Thank you so much. Let's see. I'd really like to look for some. I'm looking. We have a lot of questions. Sorry, so I'm just kind of scanning here. Let's see. Job protection. Here is a question about job protection. We have a question regarding the job protection factor when someone returns from FAMLI. If they conduct gross misconduct prior to their leave, starting with FAMLI, are we able to terminate employment? Adam, would you like to start with that?
So I hesitate to say, advise an employer, yeah, go ahead and fire somebody, right? It's never good advice without knowing any of the circumstances. And quite frankly, I'm not in a position to give you that advice. I'm not your lawyer. I'm the family division's one of them. So the general statement is that retaliation happens when you do something bad to an employee because they took family leave. You are not required to reinstate them to a job if the reason that you're not reinstating them is because of gross misconduct. But that is not to say that someone else might view that situation differently. And if there is a lawsuit and it is determined that the reason you fired that person was in retaliation for the family claim, then that is something that would be up to a court to answer. Hopefully that's enough information to help guide you in the right direction. As always, I would say when making these decisions, you feel free to talk to an attorney or counsel in helping you make that decision.
Thank you, Adam, for that. I know that was kind of a tough question, and we can't obviously give advice, but I do have another question from Meredith. Tracy, would you like to answer this? Do employees get a maximum of 12 weeks per calendar year? Correct, not 12 weeks per claim.
So it's 12 weeks on a eligibility year. So it's not based on a calendar. It doesn't necessarily go January to December. If the first time you utilized leave was in June, then you may go June to June for your calendar, right? So it's going to vary based on when leave was last utilized, but it's not a traditional calendar.
Thank you, Tracy. And here I have a question about tax information. Are the employees who use FAMLI going to receive a W-2, or how will this be taxable? Adam, would you like to address this, please?
Sure. So they are going to receive a 1099, a 1099-G specifically. And then as far as taxability goes, I've got another very disappointing answer. The state of Colorado has decided that family benefits will not be taxable. However, the federal government has not informed us of what they are going to do about that. And so at the federal level, family benefits may or may not be taxable, but we are going to give out a 1099 so that you can report that to the federal government, and we will provide you with further information. Our best guidance so far is we think they will be taxable, but we don't have a for sure answer.
Thank you. And here we have a question from Kelly regarding intermittent leave. This is a good question. If with intermittent leave, it shows an employee is paid out at 8 hours missed. Is that cumulative over several days, or do they have to take a full 8 hours at one day and one time? Adam, would you like to take that?
Cumulative over several. So if you take 1 hour off for 8 total days, once you hit that 8 hour threshold, then you can start getting payments. So we'll keep track of that and then pay you out once you've hit that.
Right. Thank you so much. And let's see. Sorry, my questions jumped. Let's see. Here's a question. Veronica is asking if family covers bereavement leave. She had thought that maybe it was listed. Tracy, would you like to talk to that, please?
Yeah, I'm happy to talk to that. Unfortunately, Colorado's family leave does not cover bereavement leave specifically. You may be eligible for other leave types offered by your employer in those situations, but it's not going to be family for that type of leave.
Thank you, Tracy. And I have another question for you, Tracy, from Sandy. Does the 12-week period run over to the next year if it's not used?
No, it's not kind of a rack 'em, stack 'em, load 'em up. So you won't have, if you didn't use 12 weeks this year, you get 24 next year. That's not how it's going to work. So it is 12 weeks in a year, but we don't save them up and hold them for later.
Thank you for that clarification. I think that was probably very helpful. Let's see. Okay, here's an interesting question for caregivers. Does being a caregiver for an elderly parent, can you use that for family? So like to take them to doctor's appointments and when they need help to get groceries or if they've fallen. Tracy, would you like to answer that one too?
I would love to. So, this is something that we see a lot for that. We call them the sandwich generation, right? Those of us that maybe have children at home and are also helping care for older family members. Absolutely. If you're the person that takes dad to dialysis twice a week, you absolutely could utilize family leave for that. If you're the person that needs to make sure that mom gets to her appointments for her new hearing aid, you are absolutely able to utilize something like FAMLI for that. So long as you are employed in Colorado, you're eligible for all the other reasons you would need to be eligible, certainly helping to take care of a loved one who is a little more frail and a bit dependent on you for their care is certainly acceptable.
And then another question for you, Tracy. SL would like to know, I live in Colorado and I would like to know if I can take leave for my family members overseas.
So that's a difficult one. You would need to get documentation from a US-based healthcare provider in order to take that leave. We're not able to accept documentation that originated outside of the US. So that being the only prerequisite, and I feel your pain because I'm not from here either. But when you do have family members overseas that you would need to care for, you would need to have US-based documentation.
Thank you. That was very helpful. Here's an employer or a question from Robert. He's asking about the job protection. After 12 weeks of family runs out, do I have employment protection for 180 days? Adam, do you want to take a stab at that one?
Sure. The answer is no. So the employer doesn't need to hold your job open for an extra 180 days. The 180-day rule is what gets you to reinstatement. So you have to work for the employer for 180 days before your leave starts in order to qualify. And then job reinstatement happens right when you get off of family. So they don't need to hold your job open indefinitely. They just have to offer it to you back at the end of your leave.
Thank you very much for that clarification. Let's see. Oh, here we go. An anonymous attendee is asking, can you force your employees to take Colorado Family, or can they take FMLA first and then choose to take their family time later? Adam, do you want to take that one?
Sure. So as far as that is concerned, what we've stated is that an employer can require an employee to apply for family in coordination with another benefit, as long as that other benefit is not something that the employer is legally obligated to give that person. FMLA doesn't fall into this category, assuming you meet the FMLA. If you are legally obligated to give someone FMLA, and this is federal law, there's really nothing we can do about this. We cannot force a family application in order to coordinate with FMLA. So if they want to take FMLA first and not apply for family, they are permitted to do that. And an employer cannot require otherwise.
Thank you, Adam. We have Mindy, who was one of our first questions, and she has some clarification for her question in here. So while out on leave, when discussing insurance with my employer, and it just jumped, they said that I could cover my part out of my checks when I returned. I asked multiple times to whom to make payments while I was out, and I didn't receive the information. And ultimately, I was let go while I was out on leave. I have not. So is there any suggestions you would like to give her, Adam, or maybe we should just point her to the call center?
I mean, that's one that probably the call center wouldn't even be able to answer. So, that sounds like it implicates laws that are something other than family.
Okay.
Now, they are required to keep your health insurance while you're on leave. And as far as I understand it, other laws may require that they accept some other forms of payments, but I'm not sure. That's not something that the Family Act or its regulations really specifically talks to.
Okay, thank you for your clarification, Mindy, and we can put you in touch with the call center for some additional clarification on the rest of your questions. Here we go. Let's see. Oops, we're kind of jumping around here. So I see a few questions in here regarding after a birth and providing some of the documentation after a birth. Tracy, would you like to cover kind of that documentation, just kind of give some clarification on that?
You know, I'm actually going to bounce that one over to Josh, who's certainly got more expertise in that area than me. So, Josh, you're on deck for this one. Michelle, maybe repeat the question just in case he was multitasking.
Sure.
I
Josh, we
think I
have
got it.
a few questions in the chat about the documentation for after the birth of a baby. If you'd like to speak to that and give kind of give a little more clarification, please.
Yeah, absolutely. So yes, after a child is born, there's a few certain options you can provide us for documentation. The most easiest is a birth certificate, but we know that sometimes takes weeks to a month or so to get. So other documentation would be release paperwork from a healthcare provider, such as, you leave the hospital, you always get your package of paperwork that says, what you were there for. Usually they provide a nice letter on letterhead that states that you gave birth on a specific date. What we are needing is documentation that states the parent or parents of the child and the actual date of birth and when it happened. There's also birth certificate worksheets that are completed by healthcare providers or hospitals that are sent to the state to generate that birth certificate. That will be accepted as well, as long as it has a hospital's letterhead and not one you printed offline. We can't accept stuff like a hearing test 6 months later that has the baby's date of birth. We need specific documentation speaking to the birth of the child and when they were born with the parent's name. So hopefully that helps. And again, just a letter or something typed up by a healthcare provider is very acceptable.
Thanks, Josh, for that clarification. And one thing I want to mention here, I see several comments in the chat as well asking for copies of the webinar and the slides. And yes, we will be sending them out. If you registered, we'll send them out to you after the webinar. And the information will also be posted on the FAMLI website underneath our resources page on the events page. Or the resources tab, sorry, on the events page. So and that's where you can find also the information for all of our past webinars, and we invite you to take a look there as well. You might find some great information that you were looking for there. Let's see. I'm still kind of checking here for some other questions. We talked about the overseas. Okay, let's see. Here's a question. Can you backdate your paid family leave if the employee has been going through health issues but has just started filing out the claim paperwork online? Tracy, would you like to take that one?
So there's reasons to backdate if your health condition prevented you from being able to get your claim filed timely. It would certainly need to be within that 30-day period. So that may be a kind of a very individual specific question, but it's certainly possible to backdate. I don't know whether Josh wants to add any more color to that, but if not, that might be a good enough answer.
I can add a little bit, Tracy. You're pretty much spot on. So it's 30 days in the past. So as long as that condition happened 30 days or so, put it in. We do have exceptions for 30 to 90 days, but you have to show just cause on why you did not file timely. And it's not just, hey, I didn't know about family or something. We have tight statutes just for that reason. But yes, if you miss that 30-day, you can always start it as of a current day and move forward. You just can't start it back more than 30 days prior to filing. So hopefully that helps.
Thank you, Josh. That was very good. Here we go. Veronica is asking, do all employees qualify regardless of part-time or full-time status? Tracy, can you answer that, please?
So full-time or part-time status is not a factor, so that would not impact eligibility. What does impact eligibility is whether or not you have earnings of $2,500 in Colorado in the quarters leading up to your leave, but certainly not the number of hours that you work in a week.
Thank you, Tracy. Adam, I have a question for you from an anonymous attendee. What if I leave my company that I've been an employee for 5 years and I paid fully into and I left that company during my 12-week of eligibility. If my claim was already approved, do my weekly benefits stop?
Depends on the kind of claim. So if it is a continuous leave claim, the answer is no. Losing your job, whether it be through a firing or you quitting in the middle of a continuous leave, will not stop your benefits. But if you're on an intermittent or reduced schedule leave, the answer is yes, because we don't know, we can't quantify how many hours you're taking off anymore. And we don't want to give you credit for taking full schedule off when you've been fired, rather than taking 4 hours off a week because of a health condition.
Thank you, Adam. I have another question from an anonymous attendee here. It's a little bit amusing. For intermittent leave for bonding, can the employee spread his 12 weeks out over the full year, or does the claim end 12 weeks from the time that is approved? I have an employee who states he wants to reserve some of his family leave to use during hunting season.
Cool. So a couple of things to address there. The short answer is that it's 12 weeks of usage, not 12 calendar weeks. And so if you take your bonding leave as a form of reduced schedule leave, and you only take 10 hours out of your normal 40 hours off per week, each week only counts as 1/4 of a week used. And so if you only use a one quarter of a week each week, technically that could be spread over 48 calendar weeks, because you wouldn't hit your 12 weeks until you've taken a quarter of a week off for 48 straight weeks. And still, an employee is required to make reasonable efforts to schedule their leave in a way that is not unduly disruptive of the business. We won't deny a claim and get into the weeds of whether or not it was, unduly disruptive, but that is a requirement by law that they must make an attempt to schedule the leave in a way that is not unduly disruptive. And then to address the hunting season thing, we will still look at the reason for leave in determining whether we're going to approve it or not. And if someone wants to use leave for hunting season, we wouldn't approve a leave potentially for a bonding leave claim if they're going to leave their child behind to go on hunting season, because obviously the reason for their absence is not to care for or bond with their child. It's because they want to take a vacation. And so we would, in that way, scrutinize the reason for the leave as well.
Thank you, Adam. That was an interesting question for sure. Anna Marie is asking, when an employee takes family, are they still able to accrue PTO and sick leave? Adam or Tracy, which one would you like to take? Adam?
I can take this or not. That's sort of up to the employer. If the employer wants to allow them to continue accruing sick or PTO, that's fine, but we don't require it.
Thank you. And Terry is asking, do I have to use up my vacation time when I missed work because I was in the hospital? So Tracy, would you like to take that one?
Use up vacation time if you miss time because you were in the hospital. So you'd be able to utilize family in that situation. And you can't be required to burn through your vacation time while you're using family. You can request to. You can certainly request to maybe have a top up to get you to a more full amount of pay, but you can't be required to burn through it. All right. I know that we are getting close to the top of the hour. Do we have any other questions, Michelle?
No, I mean, we have a lot, but I mean, I think we've done a pretty good job here. I know that our the rest of our team has been asking a lot of questions or answering a lot of questions in the chat as well. So I think that we can wrap it up. Do you have any closing remarks, Tracy?
Yeah, I would just say for the employers out there, keep an eye on your newsletters and emails because we will be releasing a new feature here in the coming weeks, which will be our human resources dashboard. So that will give you a faster insight into the leaves that your employees are utilizing. So make sure that you keep in touch with us for that one, and certainly keep an eye on your newsletters and email boxes. It will be announced when it's launched. Other than that, we really do appreciate your time. We appreciate your feedback, and we're here to serve you and to help as best as we can. The Family Leave Claim website is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And our contact center is open 5 days a week, Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. till 4 p.m. So we are happy to always take your questions. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great